This is going to be our first video about the course media system in Pakistan. The term media system, first and foremost, differs from what we know as media history or press history, media laws or media ethics courses, because it's an inclusive approach of understanding the way media works. Like, it includes everything. Like, it takes media as a social system. The idea was, system theoretical ideas were developed by people like the German sociologist Max Weber, who decided to take different institutions as social systems, like system of governance, media system, military system, political system, social system. Like, larger society was broken into different social systems, and the way it was discussed was to understand how these social systems interact within and without, and how do they form a society. So the very aims of society were decided and discussed. This is not our today's topic, but what we'll try to understand is how to approach a course that is media system in Pakistan. First, there are ways of understanding it in the context of talking about when did some newspaper or television or radio begin, and who were the prominent people who worked with it. This is the chronological historical approach. This approach has not been very helpful when it comes to the understanding of the market. For example, if you want to understand how the media works today, you need different understandings, like different perspective than simply reading the history. So what do we do? Should we not study history? That's also not simply, it seems stupid not to study history and understand the growth of institutions. But what we are trying to do is first to get an understanding of how a media system is defined. Instead of going into the theory, we go into other areas. Like, one of these areas is how media is governed and what are the interests media serves. For this very purpose, the most important work, in my opinion, there might be others, is Noam Chomsky's Filters of the Media, in his book Manifesting Consent. Chomsky was the first thinker of our modern times who emphasized the importance of understanding media, the way it functions. Like, manufacturing consent is not about fake news or propaganda. Manufacturing consent gives us an idea of how everyday routine media works. Like, the news that we get as facts. Chomsky says that the news, his famous saying, for example, that there is the saying that in the marketplace of ideas, truth will prevail. So Chomsky challenges that by saying, but if we are given 1001 false options, so whichever you choose is wrong. And these are the points that Chomsky tries to emphasize and clarify. It has been more than 30 years that Manufacturing Consent was first published. It's a good book if you wish to study it, but here are the 5 filters. Like, Chomsky says that the news that you get are the factual account of things, not the fake one. Goes through certain filters and it doesn't remain what it is. The first filter for Chomsky is ownership. Like, owners are there to fulfill certain agendas. They might be missionaries, but then they are following religion. They might be humanists, but then humanism is also a partial approach, although it has a fancy name. Today's market, capitalist media is basically about money, and then if you earn enough money, then you would like to transform your financial power into political power, and you would like to become a pressure group. You would like to get things done according to your own ideas or interests. Again, you are doing the very opposite that people are expecting you to do. You get your power from the people, from your audience, and then you use it to against people who are abusing the system, but you do the same because you are not their voice, but you are the voice of your own interests or other interests that you serve. So that's the first filter. So, or the first check on any news item and the way it's going to reach the audience is the ownership. Then the second one is advertisements. Like advertisers are those people who give money to make the business run, like the newspaper that you buy for 20-21 rupees. The other day somebody questioned me why newspapers in Pakistan are so costly. I said they are costly everywhere. Like I don't buy them, but the good thing about Pakistani newspapers is that they don't have paywall. I hope they don't install any. But everywhere in the world, the newspaper, the cost of the newspaper is far more than or any media organization. How can you pay somebody 2 or 3 million rupees, one anchor, and he or she might be earning 5-6 million by getting what? Nothing. Like what do you pay? We pay 500 to the cable operator, and the cable operator operates on their own. I don't know how much they give, but at the end of the day, you can't pay anybody any salary at all, let alone the infrastructure and everything. So there are other people who invest in you, and you have to safeguard their interests. So that's what they do. In Pakistan, government is the biggest advertiser. So the government's influence is immense, and the unhappiness of our media right now is also because of the lack of advertisements they are getting, although there are other reasons too, which follow in Chomsky's filters. The third filter, according to Chomsky, is what we call media management, like expertise and control, inclusion or exclusion from information. Like some journalists are given relevant information that gives them more credibility. From others, it's held back, or they are not allowed to publish or print or televise or audio it. So what happens is that some are left behind, like these are the information have-nots. And then access to different media. For example, the experts who sit on television make compromises. They don't make it that they can't appear on television as experts. This is what Bourdieu says, that most of the times the journalists who run the talk shows are the ones who decide what their guests speak, because the guests already know that that the television appearance will give credence to their profiles. So it's a game where the audience loses, whereas the anchors and interest groups and experts win. What is the fourth filter then? The fourth filter is flack. That happens so very often. Like I recently witnessed the death of Robert Fisk on October 30th, and then all the obituaries written stated one word. Every obituary had one word. It was controversial. Even Independent did that. His own newspaper, for which he worked for more than 10 years. Even Al Jazeera, who fights the Western media imperialism every time and at all places, decided to include the word controversial about Robert Fisk. Like Julian Assange, Edward Snowden, John Pilger, and all these people are controversial. Barack Obama is not controversial. George W. Bush Jr. is not controversial. Even Donald Trump is not controversial. Like their policies are, but they are not. So you see how the media manages to make you pay for your decision to make independent choices. And they give you a bad name, they flack you. So these are not the media only, but rather the paymasters of the media. And also now we have social media, so you can just lynch anybody on social media, defame them, and whatever you wish to do. And it's happening. It's like a global phenomenon. In Pakistan, you can every day see journalists who are being criticized and being flagged for something that they are not they are victims basically most of the time instead of being perpetrators of any crime, but then they have to pay for it. The last one is really interesting. It's the common enemy. For Pakistan, India is the common enemy. For India, it's Pakistan, that's the common enemy. The common enemy for the West, it's Islam, for example. And like not every Muslim is a terrorist, but every terrorist is a Muslim. Like not every Pashtun is a Talib, but every Talib is Pashtun. So you see how it comes down from global agendas to local agendas, and these are the kind of bandwagons that are followed, and images are created. Like I have this experience, I won't talk about it, but it's a global experience that I have. The way images really creates difficulties in your way, and first you have to fight the image, and then you get some recognition. Now, the other idea that I wanted to include in the understanding of the way media works is Edward Said, basically. Edward Said, through his Orientalism, has given, and he wrote a lot about the media, also given us an insight into the way we see ourselves, or the way we are portrayed in international media, and how that image is brought back home to us. The basis of Orientalism, as we know, is that Orientalism started with colonial societies, where the colonialists came to these countries and they started defining these countries through their own lens, which Said very rightfully says is not a clear lens, and it's clouded by biases that they bring in of their superiority and our inferiority. So they just started judging us on all levels, like the way we are dressed, the way we eat and drink, and the way our languages are. And then, since they were in power, they put it into the education systems, and this also gave us what we call self-loathe, which Frantz Fanon very rightly says that chains become unbearable when the slaves start kissing their chains. So that happens. That's kind of self-hate that is created in us through earlier Orientalist writings, but then based on the same writing, our inferiority that developed because of oppressions and the sense of mock superiority that the Western culture has developed for itself and transformed into the what we call the Eurocentric media, which looks at us like Arabs are sheikhs who are misogynists and who are always drunk and who don't know, who are really stupid. Like this is kind of the image of the Arabs, like we are lethargic in Pakistan or India or the subcontinent, and we are tricky and we are not straightforward. And this is within the context that you see roles played by our own actors in different media, in television and film, and also within our country. The worst thing about it is that we start looking at ourselves from their lens, and we start defining our own identities based upon these frames, and instead of fighting that frame, we start trying to adjust into it, like speaking English as a sign of being educated, wearing suits to show how enlightened we are, not speaking our own mother tongues basically, and all these things. And you see these are mostly happening in post-colonial societies, and it's a great step backward when we look at it, that we try to earn money and we try to earn a good living and live better, but at the same time we always feel inferior to people who have different skin colors or speak a language that has mastered us. So even more than 70 years after independence, the hold of the colonial masters is still there. So to sum it up, I think it's very important to understand how the global media system works and what does it do basically. What is the information that we get and what are the images that are transferred through the media, and we have to understand it, unlearn it, and make it fair. So that's the task of everybody who's involved in international communication, national communication, media production, journalism, understanding media is important. First and foremost, you understand it, you learn and unlearn basically. Unlearning is one of the basic processes, and then you start doing your job. Thank you.